And I remember my dad and mom being real upset that I was going to drop out of school. Like, what, a little stabbing and you're done with college? Yeah, I am.
Somebody gonna cue me or do I cue myself?
Cue yourself.
Okay. Hey everybody, guess what? We're back with another episode of Let's Talk Off Camera. Woo-hoo! So let's get talking. Today we're going to be joined by talented actor, friend of the family, and farmer Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And in a shocking twist, we have swapped our Ask Kelly questions for Jeffrey questions at the end of the show. So listen for your question to be answered. You are very vocal, very verbose, and we aim to please here at Let's Talk Off Camera. So I always go back to JDM co-hosting with me so many times. Such a righteous, amazing person.
He seems so cool.
He is the kindest, loveliest, most sincere. We keep talking about maybe having a family vacation.
You guys get along in a way, like a very unique way.
I feel like they are like the hot, cool version of us. The tall, hot, cool version of us.
Plus, I want you to go see the land that he's on.
I do. I want to see the farm.
Everything.
I think he's going to be zooming in from the farm, so we'll see.
The farm?
I think so.
Wow.
Oh my
on
gosh.
a tractor, maybe?
Albert's being all happy and nice right now, but he came in hot and heavy this morning. I'm just being honest with you.
Wait, tell me why.
I quickly get hot and heavy.
Yeah, tell me why. What,
he was
what do you...
all upset.
Well, I've been watching Live with Kelly and Mark the last few mornings, and
just the last few mornings you just discovered the show?
Specifically the last few mornings, and there's been this one of the co-hosts who has a very chiseled face.
Okay.
Who's been...
Still not narrowing it down.
Who's been
Go ahead.
kind of making some commentary on Sausage Fest that I thought was a very interesting thing to note as a viewer who's unable to speak back.
Yes, well, that's who we like to focus on, people who can't speak back.
And then it dawned on me this morning after the second time around that I might be in front of a hot mic today.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yes.
What is your rebuttal?
I think
Mark's?
my rebuttal is that if someone is unhappy or feeling dissatisfied with the meat that they're served, I have a very easy answer, and that is stay the fuck home.
He would never stay the fuck home, and here's why. It would give him nothing to complain about. And so you realize that Sausage Fest has become his favorite/least favorite holiday. And yes, we call it a holiday. We don't call it Memorial Day weekend. We call it Sausage Fest weekend.
I have gotten a lot of text messages from people saying that Kelly's a genius for calling it the Met Gala of Long Island.
Wait. So a lot of our listeners don't know what Sausage Fest is. So
Kelly, I think, coined it. It was years ago. We served these sausages from Peconic Prime Meats every Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
And it started out, 10 of us?
I'm going to specify it. It was 10 gay guys and me and my children at this gathering at Albert's house in the freezing cold, icy, chilly rain of Memorial Day weekend of Long Island. And we ate sausages. Albert, on this particular day, serves nothing but foods I don't eat. It is a plethora of foods.
No, the Claire's coleslaw from Cromer's you love.
I eat the Claire's coleslaw if there's any left.
Did you just uninvite Mark?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
so Mark is disinvited.
I think he seems very dissatisfied. I hate to see him so troubled. I might go on, since you've both pointed out that you have separate paperless post invites.
We do have separate.
I think I might retract his.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You can do that.
Yes, I can.
You can do that. And I encourage you to do that. He'll show up anyway.
He will. He'll climb the fence.
Is Jeffrey Dean Morgan invited to
100%,
Sausage
yes.
Fest?
Is he on?
Are you kidding?
Wait,
should
is
we
he on
invite
right
him
now?
to Sausage Fest?
We should absolutely.
Does he like sausage is the question.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if Jeffrey Dean Morgan likes sausage, because if JDM and Hilarie came to Sausage Fest, it would up the cool factor of Sausage Fest by 2,000,000%.
I don't know what we're talking about or what a sausage fest is.
We're talking about the Met Gala of Long Island. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, let's, without further ado.
Let's just introduce him into the sausage fest.
We are, because here's what. My producing partner, love of my life, my brother from another mother,
Hi, Jeffrey.
Albert Bianchini. There he is.
Hi, Albert.
So Albert has this event out on Long Island every Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, fantastic.
It started out small,
Yes.
but all he serves are different sausages from Peconic Prime Meats. So if we could get you and Hillary to come,
You're totally
there would
invited.
be another straight couple for us to.
But there are actual sausages, Jeffrey, like really good ones.
No. I'm in for both sausages.
That's right. This is why you are so beloved, Jeffrey, because you know what? You are a man of the people.
I am a man of the people. Now, this sausage party, is there a theme dress code kind of thing?
Kelly's created it, yes.
So we created a dress code years ago when Michael, who is now 25, I guess he was 14 or 15 at the time, he came dressed as a hot dog. He wore a hot dog costume to Sausage Fest.
All right, see, now that's where I was going.
So now it's turned into sort of like a
costume optional.
Costume optional. You see a lot of caftans,
Lots.
a lot of sequins.
I think my question would be, what does Mark wear? I think that's what I need to know.
Mark, as usual, wears a skin-tight black T-shirt.
He's shirtless, isn't he?
Skin-tight black T-shirt, skin-tight white jeans. And then he wanders around bitching that the sausage is undercooked the entire time.
God bless him. You know, if I could wear a skin-tight white pair of pants, I'd do it.
You know what?
Too.
A little birdie told me you could and you should. And some of those little birdies are right here at this table. You know, last time we spoke, you revealed that you had a man crush on Mark, and Mark revealed that he had a man crush on you. Will we ever take this man crush to the next level?
The sausage party. I think it's all going down there.
It is the perfect place. You may meet guys you like better, Jeffrey, if I'm being honest.
I don't know. Really?
Kelly and I are ordained. We could help officiate a lot of things.
Yeah, we're both ordained ministers.
It's a smoke show of a sausage fest.
Do you and Hilarie have this thing called a hall pass? Jan wants to know, because Jan and Glenn have hall passes.
That's my favorite.
And I'd like to know.
Do they really, though? Because people that say they really have a hall pass, I don't buy.
No, we do.
You really do?
Yeah.
So who is your
He
hall
likes
pass?
Liz Cho.
Liz Cho. Oh, well, Liz Cho is everybody's hall pass. Yes, that is true. Do you know who Liz Cho is?
No, who is
She's
it?
the evening newscaster on WABC here in New York City. She is fiendishly beautiful and brilliantly smart.
I do know who
Yes,
you're talking
yeah.
about now, but I generally don't watch the local news.
But Jan, I want to know who your hall pass is.
I like myself a Bob Iger.
That makes sense. Bob Iger makes sense.
Bob Iger?
Bob
Yes,
Iger.
I think he's super hot.
Jan also wants to be financially taken care of.
I wouldn't have gone super hot, but I understand the financial
I
security.
like the confidence. I like the whole thing.
She likes that BDE, big Disney energy. So, how do you feel about Taylor Swift saying that you were her celebrity crush?
I'm flattered. I think when she said it, she was 14 years old, though.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that you're still her celebrity crush, if I'm guessing.
I don't know. I remember there was once an award ceremony, and she was getting an award for something, and she had requested that I present her with the award, and I wasn't available. So I've never met her. I've seen the little internet clip of her saying this.
Have your kids seen it? Are they Swifties?
I don't think so. I think I'm more of a Swiftie than my kids.
Like Gus is like 2 years away before that clip will become very important in his world.
Well, maybe. I mean, Gus is the first concert that he went to was Metallica. So he skews a different direction than the Swiftie, although he likes Billie Eilish. He likes her a lot. Now, George, I think, will have a Taylor Swift moment.
Oh, yeah. So, Jeffrey, we got a lot of questions from your fan base, and I was telling Jan and Albert this earlier today when we were over at the live studio that I think you followed me on Instagram, and then like instantly 50,000 people also followed me, but they all have like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, #1 fan in the title.
Yeah.
And they'll ask me questions like, what's your favorite thing about Jeffrey Dean Morgan? I'll post a picture of my mom on her birthday and they're like, tell me your top 3 things about Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, God bless him. I don't know what to say about it, but I saw that you had tweeted that I was going to be on the show and to ask a question, and I retweeted it, kind of knowing that you would get
No. It was
more responses than you probably wanted to deal with. See, I won't tell them when they ask me, but they're thinking, because they know that I adore you, that if you ask, maybe I'll answer.
You'll answer. So that's how we're going to play it. But I want to, before we get to their questions, I want to go back in time, back to Seattle, where you grew up.
Oh, sure.
You were the captain of the basketball team.
I was.
There are certain words that I associate with, wait for it, being popular. Were you popular, Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yeah, but it was a different thing then. I mean, it wasn't cliquey at all. You had the kids that maybe were smoking cigarettes in the upper parking lot. And then there was everybody else. So those kids were kind of like the dangerous ones. And then everybody else kind of hung out. Like I talked to Gus now about how school is and how the lunchroom operates and all that, the drama that goes with that for a 13-year-old. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. We didn't have that. So, I mean, people didn't hate me, I don't think, but I mean, maybe.
Did you smoke cigarettes? Were you a smoker back then?
I didn't then, because I was a basketball player.
Right. You couldn't do both.
Oh, my coach would have killed me.
Yeah, right.
My coach, who I still talk to, by the way, we talk quite a bit actually. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was okay popular. I wasn't dating like the head cheerleader or anything like that.
Did basketball lead you to college? Did you go to college on an athletic scholarship?
I did, but I blew out my knee right away, and then I got stabbed. It's a crazy. I'll tell you the story.
Oh my God.
I went to this little school in northern Washington because I wanted to stay close to home, and I hated the school part. I wasn't great at the school part, but I always wore my hair slicked back, and we're talking 1985, and I wore a leather coat. I dressed like I do now. And one day I was walking home from practice, and where I was going to school was kind of country, and these guys pulled over, and in my head I'm thinking, oh, they're going to ask for directions, which is not good because I don't know where the fuck I am. And they just beat the crap out of me, and I got stabbed in my side. And I remember I got the knife somehow and I stabbed it through a guy's forearm, and then they left. But I remember I went back and my whole team got in cars and they're driving around all over this small town looking to kick people's asses. But for me, that was it. When that happened, I was like, I am not meant for this school
That's
stuff.
all you needed.
And with my knee being hurt, I knew I was going to sit out that first year anyway. That was it. And then I moved to downtown Seattle with some friends of mine that I'm still really good friends with. A guy named Billy Burke, who's on a show right now called Fire Country. And we lived together in Seattle, and we eventually all migrated down to LA.
That's really really traumatic, though. That's like a really scary thing. How long did it take you to feel safe again? Is that something that always sort of resides in your mind somewhere?
I was really able to kind of shake it off at the time. Yes, it was traumatic. And because of it, I did make some changes in my life, which, thankfully have worked out. Otherwise, I may have stayed in school. That was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Funny, though, that now that I have kids, that kind of stuff is something that I do think about. If that happened to my kid, he would handle it 1,000% differently than I certainly handled it, in 1985. My relationship with my parents is so much different than what Gus's is with, Hilarie and I. I just don't think that he would be able to shake something like that off. And it's just a different generation. I
agree with you. Yeah. Like my dad, if I had gotten jumped like that in a car, my dad's primary question would have been, did you get the first shot in? You never let them, why did you let them stab you first? Why didn't you stab,
That's right. Yeah. How did you not see that coming?
and to make sure that next time you always carry the knife in your hand in case, because you want to stab first.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, very similar conversation was had, and I remember, my dad and mom being real upset that I was going to drop out of school. Like, what, a little stabbing and you're done with college? Yeah, I am. But, I'm glad I did, because I don't know what I would have. I wonder what my life choices would have been had I stayed in school and waited for the next year to play ball again, or whatever would have happened. I can't imagine that I'd be sitting here talking to you.
But you had something in you. You had like an intestinal fortitude that gave you like a self-assurance or self-belief, because our kids, right? Your kids, my kids, we do not have kids together. I didn't mean to imply that by saying our kid.
No hall pass.
Exactly. But our kids, if they said, oh, I want to drop out of college, we would like navigate them back into the path of safety. Well, get your education so that you have a backup plan and blah, blah, blah. But like, I didn't go to college. I didn't have a backup plan. I got on a Greyhound bus. I went to New York. My parents were like, good luck. You're not getting a loan from us. If you can't make it there, you're going to come home and,
Yeah, you're going to have to go back to college, but you're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to
do something. You're going to have to figure something out.
Same thing, same deal. I remember how disappointed everyone was for years, by the way. I think they just now are realizing, oh, he's done okay for himself. They've been waiting for the fall on my face.
Once you give them grandchildren, they become forgiving people. It's really weird.
Well, not only forgiving, but I mean, just how my father is with my kids. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? and I love it. Nothing makes me happier than seeing him with Gus and George. But I still remember what it was like when I was 13, and my dad was not like that.
We're always trying to tell the kids that. We're like, Pop and Nono were the scariest men alive. Like, we don't recognize these genteel.
These aren't the people that we knew.
These are not the people we know.
Yeah. I get a big freaking kick out of it, I'll tell you. But there's times I look at my dad and I'm like, who are you trying to fucking kid here?
So take me through the pivot then.
I leave school. I move to downtown Seattle. I have a string of jobs doing everything and anything because, I'm having to pay rent. And so, I live with my friend Billy, and then we ended up getting an apartment. He was a busboy. I worked at a hat store in Pike Place Market. And then I worked at a shoe store selling shoes. And it was me and a woman named Susan Silver, who ended up marrying Chris Cornell and was the manager for every band in that period of time. So my friends were all these bands that then became the biggest bands in the world. But, to me, they were just dudes like me who dropped out of college and didn't have a life. I was doing art, and I actually started a graphic art company at like the age of 19 or 20. And that's just because I was sick of selling shoes and hats.
I like that he covered the top and the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing in the middle. It'd been great for the sausage party, by
the way. Perfectly dressed.
Just a fedora and boots, my friend. And so I was doing that, and we would design logos for little local companies. And that company that I helped found is still in existence today in Seattle. The guy that I started with is still doing it. But my closest friends were musicians and actors. People would try to put me in their bands because I had the look. I had, I crimped my hair and I wore eyeliner and a kimono. And, back in those days, it was great. And they'd put me on like the synthesizer and I would play lead wind. I didn't have the talent. And when I had a friend of mine move to LA, and he'd done a couple of movies in Seattle and had an agent and all the shit waiting for him down in Los Angeles. So I drove the U-Haul down, and I met a casting director, this woman named Eliza Simons, who is now married to Eric Roberts and has been my friend for a jillion years. And she was like, you should try this. And I remember the first thing I read for in my whole life was General Hospital, the role of Blackie that John Stamos ended up getting.
Yep.
But I got a movie right away. Like I'd been in LA for like a month, maybe two. And I remember I got the lead of a killer pimp in a Roger Corman movie. Driving down Hollywood Boulevard with a camera mounted to a convertible Cadillac that was purple and thinking, I got it. I got this wired. I'm never not going to work again. This
I'm
is
a
great.
movie star.
And yeah, this is destiny. And then it took me, 20 years to really have any kind of career. But that's kind of how I didn't have any training, nothing. And that started that life of auditioning and all that. Struggled for years and would do just enough to kind of keep a roof over my head. And then I met you. I met you and your husband. And I know I've told you this story, but it still is one of my favorite stories. I had tested for all my children. And I remember they flew me in from LA and I remember you and your husband both pulled me aside and said, you got
to get out of here. This place is.
Yeah. And I just remember like, I just need a job, And I know I've told you this story, but it still is one of my favorite stories. I had tested for all my children, and I remember they flew me in from LA, and I remember you and your husband both pulled me aside and said, you don't want to do this.
You got to get out of here.
I mean, I sat there all day. There was like three of us, and you and Mark were so kind. I mean, you guys like took me on a tour. You didn't have to do any of that.
No, we liked you because you were kind. And, you are like how we were. We didn't know anything. Like we had no skill set. We did not have particularly parents that were supportive of us going into show business. They didn't even know my parents assumed it would be like porn or at a peep shop or something. And they were like, please, Kelly, no nudity. And so I feel like when you meet your own people, like you were just a good guy.
I think soap operas have always scared the hell out of me. The amount of dialogue that you have to do. I know now that I could never have done it.
Oh, yeah, you could have. It's like a muscle memory.
Well, it was the first time anyone had ever told me, and Mark said it. It was the golden
handcuffs.
Yeah, something like that. And I'd never heard that before. Anyway, I went in finally after, just kind of sitting around all day and meeting you guys. And I went in and I just fucking joked it. I just was like, I don't know that I want to be here. And the one thing is I wanted to move to New York, which, I eventually did.
I'm glad you did. I'm sorry if we thwarted your effort beforehand, but
no, it's still one of the coolest and kindest things anyone has ever done for me that didn't know me from Adam. And I never forgot it. And by the way, it still took me another 7 years, I think, before I got Grey's Anatomy, and then everything kind of snowballed from there.
It was Grey's Anatomy, right? That was the first big.
That was
the
kind
thing
of
that
the
put
first
you on
one.
the map.
I did Grey's Anatomy and a show called Supernatural at the same time.
Supernatural.
So I was doing both of those. It was year 2 of Grey's Anatomy, but it's why Zack Snyder cast me in Watchmen. Now, how he could look at a character like Denny and say, oh, that should be this nihilistic, crazy superhero, I'll never know. But, P.S. I Love You, Watchmen, all this stuff just happened from that. I think since Grey's Anatomy, I've had to go in and audition one time in my whole life.
That's incredible.
Just flipped everything.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you know anything about show business, Jeffrey is in a rarefied world where you don't have to audition. I mean, everybody has to audition. Major movie stars have to audition. But you transcended that from that one job. And I think it's because you're super talented. I only know you as kind and loving. I'm always shocked when I see you as these diabolical monsters that you've been able to but I watch it and I like chuckle and I'm like, look at JDM. He's so mean.
Yeah.
He's so scary.
Yeah. Somehow it's kind of turned into a thing now of being a villain, which, by the way, I do love.
It's the most
and I
fun,
like finding,
right?
yeah, it's trickier in that I think the goal for me is always to take the worst person in the world and humanize that person somehow, because usually villains are written very kind of one-dimensional, and that changed with, well, I think Nicholson had done it a few times, The Shining in particular, but what Heath Ledger did with the Joker, because on paper, I know how that read, I know how that script read, and yet what he was able to do with that, it was amazing. And so I get a big kick out of taking a role that there shouldn't be anything that we like or want to even pay attention to, and not make him likable, but make him someone that is relatable.
Well, I mean, we found ourselves rooting for Negan in a very, I kept saying, why? How am I rooting for Negan? Putting aside you, how am I rooting for this man?
Oh.
So take me into 2009, and Hilarie comes into your life. Were you working together, or were you set up on a blind date?
We were set up on a blind date. I just was coming out of a pretty long relationship, and it was, very off and on, very dramatic. I had been living in New York. I had done like some back-to-back films, and so I'd kind of been here, and I had just gone back to LA, and the guy who played my son on Supernatural, Jensen Ackles, called me one night. He's like, hey, I got this girl that's staying at our house right now, and we're going to go out tonight and have a drink. And I told her about you, and I think you should come and say hi. And I was like, oh God. He told me that she was an actor. And I'm like, oh, we just did that. I can't do it. There's no way. And I remember sitting at my house and just like, oh, fuck, I should go. And what am I doing? I'm just sitting here by myself. And I went, and as soon as I walked in, he tells a story, and it's hilarious, slow motion and wind blowing through people's hair. But I rode my motorcycle over, and
well, first of all, that is a baller move. I mean, anytime you're pulling up on a motorcycle, a girl is going to pay attention to that.
That's what they both said too. Although Hilarie's not a big, biker girl. I've gotten her to go on a bike maybe 5 times in our whole life together. But I got off that motorcycle and I saw her, and that was it. It was just that.
Love at first sight.
It was love at first sight. And she was leaving the next morning to go back to North Carolina, because I find out later that she had a date that she was going back for.
She was going home to break up with the date.
And that's what she did. But I was leaving in like 2 days to go to New Mexico to start filming a movie. And she was going to Paris. She wanted to write a book, and had just rented a flat in Paris for like 3 months. And
by the way, she's a great writer. She's a
writer.
Fantastic writer.
Yeah, and has a new book coming out in October. I haven't read it yet, but I didn't read the last one either until it came to us in galley form. And I was like, holy shit, she just told the world our whole life.
So you didn't read any of it before? Oh, wow.
No, I didn't read any of it before, and said, I'm going to wait until you're done. And she never told me what it was going to be about. I thought she was writing like a fiction. She's a bit of a storyteller.
She's a great storyteller.
And so she had gone to bed, and she had given me the galley earlier in the day, and I sat in front of my fire and I read it in one sitting. I think the sun was coming up when I put the book down, and I was just in tears. And I just remember thinking, oh God, there's no mystery left to us at all anymore. You've told the most intimate details about some very hard stuff that we went through. That being said, I think, her needing to tell the story that she told was very therapeutic for her. I think she thought I was going to like be upset, and it was the opposite. I couldn't have been more proud of her. And so I will see what this next one is.
Wait, I have to go back because we left off. Hilarie went to Paris.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And
sorry.
I derailed you by talking about what a brilliant writer she is.
Okay. So she's on her way to Paris. I am on my way to New Mexico. And I tell her that Albuquerque is so much more romantic
than Paris.
And she believed it.
Yeah. Well, because the penis was in Albuquerque.
The sausage party.
The sausage fest was happening in Albuquerque.
So we'd only met that one night. And the next time I met her was at the airport in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She never went to Paris. We were pregnant with Gus. Oh God, within like 3 weeks. I would not encourage anyone to have a relationship move that fast ever, but there was never a doubt.
Yeah.
Ever. We just knew. I mean, it was that was the beginning of it all, and we haven't left each other's side since then. But one hell of a blind date.
I'm so glad that you two met, because I literally cannot picture either one of you without the other person. And, Gus and George and your wild animal farm and the life that you've built. Yeah. And I'm just so happy for you.
Oh.
Mark and I are always like, how are they doing? Do you think they miss us? Because we've always talked about going on a vacation someday together.
I know. We talk about you guys the same way. And just so you know, we feel the same way about you guys and your relationship and your family and what you've built together. That's the one thing about how our relationship moved at Mach 5 speed is we never really got to woo each other. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's been a kid around since day one.
We thought we moved fast too, because we got married a year after we met, and we didn't want anybody at work to know we were dating. Meanwhile, we were married. Okay.
And didn't you get married in Vegas?
We did. We got married in Vegas. Yeah. We did. We eloped.
That's awesome.
Our entire wedding cost $179, including airfare.
Did you have another wedding when you told everyone you were married? No. Did you do something?
No. We're very superstitious. I was like, it took the first time. Let's not fuck it up by trying to do it twice.
Yeah.
We were very nervous about somehow the second wedding would be tainted. But anyway, so you've got this, God, you've got so many businesses going on. You have a spirit business.
That's my wife. This is all Hilarie. She's
industrious.
Yeah. I can't slow her down. It's just like if I'll mention, and I did, because a company had come to me when I started The Walking Dead. They're like, hey, we would like to do a vodka with you. And by that, it just means that I would endorse it, and they would put a baseball bat or something on the vodka bottle. Who knew? But I knew that I wouldn't have a say in any of it. And I was like, no. But I remember I telling Hilarie about it. I said, sometime we ought to think about doing something like that. It might be kind of fun.
Right.
We thought that we could have something potentially with, the Mischief Farm brand and all that. There was ideas that we kind of threw around, but the thing is, if you throw around an idea with Hilarie,
it becomes a reality.
The next thing you know, I've got 10 meetings that I have to have with distillers. And I'm like, whoa, what just happened? So she took that. And then during the pandemic, Hilarie was sewing masks for hospitals.
I remember.
And I was delivering them. So I would load up all these masks that she would make, and I would deliver them to hospitals around Dutchess County and sometimes outside of with George.
People forget there was a total mask shortage, and hospital workers had no masks.
Yeah. She figured out how to make them. 4 layers of whatever it was that was totally legit. And anyway, so the distiller here in the Hudson Valley heard that she was doing these masks, and he had turned his distillery into a thing making
Hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And they talked because he needed to know how to, send out the sanitizer, who to send it to, blah, blah, blah. And Hilarie, of course, knew all the answers. And before long, they're like, hey, would you ever, consider, doing a libation of some sort? There it is. So thank you, Hilarie. And we went and met with this local distiller, and we came up with 2 liquors. One is a gin, and it's got blackberries from our farm.
Albert just started salivating, by the way. That's his drink.
It's really,
he's a gin drinker.
It's really, this gin. I am not a big gin drinker, and I love this gin. And the other is a bonfire whiskey. And that's because I've got a fire burning at this farm, at least one at any given moment.
And are you the whiskey drinker?
Yeah, I like a good sipping whiskey, and this is a good sipping whiskey, and it's got a kind of a smoky aftertaste to it. And that's our deal, MF Libations, which is Mischief Farm, but everybody thinks it's motherfucker because I talk like a sailor.
Me too. I like MF Libations.
Yeah, there it is.
See, oh my gosh, that's cool. You've got, merch.
This is actually just our farm. This is just, again, Hilarie, it was like, we should, we've got fans and everybody wants something to do with the farm. And so we had hats and sweatshirts made years ago, and I still wear them every day.
Guys, we have to do a road trip. We'll do a remote.
Absolutely. And then you can come to the farm. You've been threatening to do that for a while.
Albert wants to come to shearing day.
Oh, yeah.
Shearing day is a friggin' hoot. Oh my God, because all of our animals are rescues. And so they already have problems. Right. They've already...
They're psychologically not right. And now you're taking their fur off and they don't like it.
To do it, you got to lay them down, and alpaca love to spit. Yeah. But they make a sound that's like the worst sound you've ever heard in your life.
Can you imitate it? Can you imitate it?
I can't, because it's so high pitched and screamy, but also almost a bellow. And at the same time, they're trying to spit at you. There's so much stuff going on, and limbs are trying to kick you. It's a blast.
We are going. We are going.
I'm in. You let us know when that is.
It cracks me up. And then the minute you let them go, they prance around like, I look good. Yeah. Oh, check me out. But while it's going on, they are lethal weapons. They want to kill you. It's really a funny deal.
We're going to get to the viewer questions, but before we do, The Boys season 4, are you coming onto this show?
I am.
You are. And
I am indeed.
How will they make this show even, it is so filthy and good and amazing and diabolical and everything.
Yeah.
And you are a perfect addition to that.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite shows. But the showrunner, who, took it from comic book form to TV, is the same creator that did Supernatural.
Oh.
And so Eric and I, the guy who runs the show, The Boys, have been trying to figure out how to get me on the show for the last 2 or 3 years. And just with my Walking Dead schedule, it was impossible. And so this year we were doing Dead City, and The Boys had started, and we had been talking. And what he did was he took the episodes that I was still working on Dead City, and we shot all my stuff when I was available.
That's incredible.
The directors came back into town, and so they were going backwards for me, which was awesome.
Well, if you are a JDM fan, you want to make sure that you watch all of the seasons of The Boys leading up to the 4th season, which I'm assuming will be even filthier and more diabolical. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, there's some stuff. Yeah.
Are you ready for your fan questions?
I don't know. We'll say that I am.
Are you ready for your fan questions? We've got a sound effect for you, too, because Albert's boyfriend, Kyle, made you your own sound effect. Are you ready?
Jingle.
What?
Here we go.
Questions for Jeffrey.
Bravo. Can I have that for my ringtone?
Yes, we'll send it.
Yes, you may.
Because it's always somebody that wants something, and I think that would be
okay.
It would be great.
Here we go. From Sylvia. Sylvia wants to know, which character have you enjoyed playing the most?
That's hard. Negan for sure is right up there. Denny on Grey's Anatomy, I loved playing. That was lightning in a bottle for a lot of different reasons, but that was incredibly special.
From Lynn D says, during the pandemic, your stunningly beautiful wife let her gray hair flag fly, which gave me the courage to do the same. Did that affect or change the way you saw her, and was there a conversation about it?
No, there wasn't. I thought she just became better looking and sexier.
Ooh.
She'd always dyed her hair, and we met, she was like in her 20s, and she just always had, like, she called it her skunk stripe, that she, had to do over and over again. And I think during the pandemic, she was like, it's just you.
She also has the right amount of, I like to call it like the salt and pepper effect. Like, it's mostly dark with like shocks of gray. And what I discovered during the pandemic is that I am Mrs. Claus. So as my roots grew in, I was like, oh, there's nothing dark in there. There is nothing at all dark. It's just white on white.
You're talking to a guy who's, Santa. So I get it. I get it. Yeah, she pulls it off.
She's just she's a sexy lady.
And it just makes her happy that she doesn't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I think it's just has given her like a sense of freedom and happiness.
Yeah, it's my ongoing quest to get off camera is so that I never have to dye my hair again and I never have to wear makeup again. That is my quest.
And by the way, Hilarie has the same goal, not to be on camera.
This podcast is phase 1. Phase 1 of never having to be seen again.
You and Hilarie are
very similar. I know. We've had this when I hear her talk, it's like I'm listening to myself. Okay, we've got another question from Scarface. Scarface.
Oh, I know her. Yeah.
Will we see?
She doesn't really have a
Yeah,
scar.
I'm sure not. Will we see any fan favorite characters from The Walking Dead, such as Princess on Dead City?
I probably am not allowed to answer that, but I'm going to say there'll be one character that you'll recognize.
That's it, Scarface. So take that answer and appreciate it. From M, if you could choose an ending for Negan, what would it be?
That he would just walk off into the sunset. I don't know that he would have gotten married again, and they had Negan get married at the end of The Walking Dead. But we never saw the story of how he met this person and why he would have married her, which always kind of bummed me out because I think he was so in love with his wife, Lucille, and it had made such a production out of the whole Lucille of it all. Having him show up with a wife without telling the story of why and how was always like a problem and issue I had. But that's what happens when you're doing a show with 30 main characters. You're not able to service each character as well as you may want to. And I think with Dead City, we'll get some answers.
Okay, B. Hansen says, spill the tea. You hinted that on some of the shows you've been involved in, the cast didn't get along. Which ones?
Oh, all of them.
Isn't it amazing how people assume that every cast has to always be enjoying each other's company all the time? And I'm like, what office do these people work in where everybody gets along 100% of the time?
Well, I think that partly we're at fault because, when we go out and do press, we're like, we're one big happy family and all that schnaz.
Yeah.
I will say that The Walking Dead, because we shot in this little bubble of Georgia, a lot of us were super duper close. Not to say that there weren't a couple little non-peaches in the group, because there were.
That's always with every job, anywhere, anytime.
That's right. There's always going to be some bad apples, and if we can't kill them off, then we're stuck with them, and we were stuck with a couple. But mostly that cast was a family. And I think every show is like that. There's always a couple people that you really get along with, and then there's some people that you don't, and you're not going to get along with everyone. So I'm not going to be specific with the bean spilling or the tea spilling, because I don't want to get in too much trouble.
Hansen, you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
That's right.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions from Laura Giglio. If you had a choice to play any role, what would your dream role be?
I don't know. That's hard. Those independent films that are super character driven, we're not seeing anymore. Mm-hmm. We're getting a lot of really good stuff on television, but those films that you can kind of lose yourself into a character driven piece and do a couple a year if you were really lucky and really good, they don't exist anymore. So you're doing one character now for a couple years if you're lucky enough to get a TV show, or you're a superhero, because those are the movies that they're
Do you
making.
think there'll be a pendulum swing back to the really interesting independent films?
I hope so. I mean, I really do. That's why I fell in love with film. You know, my favorite genre is and will always probably be a Western. I can name a film that I would like to have been in, something like Unforgiven. They don't make those anymore. Westerns, for whatever reason, don't make money, and so they don't make them, which is weird because I don't know one person who doesn't love a good Western. Both my kids are named after characters in Westerns, for God's sake.
Okay, is this the last question, Jan? Okay, this one is from, are you ready? Jeffrey the Dog Morgan. Do you know Jeffrey the Dog Morgan?
Yes.
A lot of JDMs out there.
You know all your fans.
Yeah. If you had one do-over in life, what would it be?
You know what? I don't do those. I think that the life that I've led up to this moment needed to be exactly what it was for me to be where I am. So I don't live with regrets.
Aw. You know what?
Yeah?
We love you. JDM, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, an actual in show business, a rarity, a really, really kind, good guy with all the talent in the world and a beautiful life that you deserve. We are so happy for you.
Oh, I love you, Kelly.
We love you too.
You're one of the greatest.
Mark and I both love you and Hilarie so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. JDM, The Walking Dead, Dead City on AMC. Don't forget to watch. And we appreciate you so much for doing our little podcast.
Oh, anytime. Anything for you. And this is awesome. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Love you so much.
Love you too.
Bye.
Love you too.
Well, Albert and Jan, I don't know what else you want from me. I can't wait to see what character he plays on The Boys, because it's going to be demented. Do you watch that show?
My boys do. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, Jan.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. You should really know what they're getting into, your boys. What about you,
I
Albert?
haven't watched it, no.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's watch it this weekend.
You would love it. It's diabolical. It is diabolical, and it is filthy. It's absolute filth.
I read there was like a headline that said, "How do you make the boys even filthier? Add Jeffrey Dean Morgan."
It's incredible. He's perfect for that show. You should do something on that show too, Mark.
Tan Man.
Tan Man? No, that's not enough. You need like a kink or a fetish. You need something wacky that you're into.
Power washing.
Yeah, but he would do it with his penis. Like that's what these people do.
Yes,
like they've got diabolical
he power
superpowers.
washes things with his penis.
You have no idea. I mean, it's so dirty. The show is so dirty, but it's really funny. Speaking of dirty and funny, don't forget to tell your friends to listen and follow the latest episode of Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa, wherever you get your podcasts. And if they don't know how to follow, there is a tutorial of my dad teaching people on my Instagram. So check it out. You've never seen anything quite as scintillating as Joe Ripa talking tech on my Instagram page. Can't wait to talk off camera with y'all next week. Bye, everybody. Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa is a co-production of Melojo Productions and PRX Productions with help from Goat Rodeo. Our theme song is Follow Me from APM Music. From Malocho, our team is Kelly Ripa, Mark Consuelos, Albert Bianchini, Jan Chalet, Devin Schneider, Michael Halpern, Jacob Small, Roz Therian, Seth Gronquist, and Julia Desch. From PRX Productions, our team is Kara Schillen, Genevieve Sponsler, Megan Nadolski, Edwin Ochoa. Additional sound design by Terrence Bernardo. The executive producer of PRX Productions is Jocelyn Gonzalez. This show is powered by Stitcher.